Hola clase. Today we're going to talk about el subjuntivo, which is expressing the unknown or the subjective expression in Spanish. Remember, there are three moods in Spanish: el indicativo, el subjuntivo, y el imperativo. ¿Cómo formar el subjuntivo? How do we form the subjunctive? It has a very easy formula. We're going to conjugate the verb in the yo form and drop the o, and then we will add the opposite ending. AR verbs will get the endings of es, hemos, eis, en, and ER and IR verbs will get the endings of a, as, a, amos, ais, an. Pretty simple. Let's look at hablar, which is a common verb. We conjugate in the yo form. We get yo hablo. We get rid of the o, and we use that base. And then we use the opposite ending. Hablé, hables, hablé, hablemos, habláis, hablen. And if you look here, the yo form, the first person singular, and we have the third person singular, the el, ella, usted form, they have the same conjugation. How do we know the difference between those two? We have to use a clarifier. You're going to have to use yo or el, ella, usted to tell us who you're talking about. Muy bien. Vamos a ver. ER verb. Comer. We conjugate in yo. Yo como. Yo como. We drop that pesky o. We use the base. Coma. Comas. Coma. Comamos. Comáis. Coman. Muy bien. Excelente. IR verbs. Let's look at vivir. A regular IR verb. We're going to do the same thing. We conjugate in yo. We're going to drop that o. We're going to use our base and add the opposite ending. Viva, vivas, viva, vivamos, viváis, vivan. The most common error that I see in Spanish is students forget how to conjugate in the yo form. This formula also works for verbs that have irregular yo forms in the present indicative. Let's look at these examples. Conocer becomes yo conozco. And if you don't know these irregular yo forms, you're going to have some trouble with the subjunctive. We get rid of our o, and we use that base. When we go back to adding our opposite ending, it becomes conozca, conozcas, conozca, conozcamos, conozcáis, conozcan. Let's look at the stem changers. For AR and ER stem changing verbs, the formula applies, except there is no stem change in the nosotros and vosotros forms. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's look at pensar. You have to remember that pensar becomes yo pienso. We drop the o. We use the base. Piense, pienses, piense. Look what happens here. Right? We don't have that I, and it just goes back to pensemos, pensáis, and then it goes back into the piensen in the ellos form. In Spanish, we call this a boot verb. Okay, that actually means that the changes, when we conjugate a verb, let's look at this. So we have our yo form. I like to conjugate it in this little grid. We have a tu form, and we have our el, ella, usted form here. We have our nosotros form. Forgive my handwriting. We have our vosotros form, and we have our ellos form over here. So when I say boot verb, what I'm saying is that the changes are occurring. They look like this. They look like a shape of the boot, because in the nosotros and the vosotros form, they take a different form, or they go back to the original stem. So a boot verb, it looks like a boot where it has its changes. Okay, muy bien. Vamos a ver. Stem changers, IR verbs. For the IR stem changing verbs, the formula applies, except that the stem change in the nosotros and the vosotros forms follows these patterns. A little bit of a change up here. In the O to the UE verbs, it goes O to U. I'm going to show you examples. The E to IE, it goes E to I. And the E to I verbs also do E to I. Let's look. You'll see what I'm talking about. Dormir. Okay, we have duermo. We drop our O. Okay, get rid of that O. And don't forget, you have to remember how to conjugate in yo. You're going to get your base. Duerma, duermas, duerma. Aha, look what happens in the nosotros and the vosotros form. Durmamos, durmais. All right, it dropped the E. Duerman when it goes back to the ellos form. Muy bien. A boot verb, because it shows that boot change in that little conjugation grid that I showed you. It has a boot shape. Stem changers, E to IE and E to I. Sentir, yo siento, drop the O. Use the base, add the opposite ending. Sienta, sienta, sienta. Sintamos, sintáis, sientan. Pedir, yo pido. Pida, pidas, pida. Pidamos, pidáis, pidan. All right, check those out. You'll get used to these as you practice them. These are boot verbs again. They show the change in the boot shape. 6 irregulars in the subjunctive. Please make flashcards. You're going to need to know these. You will use these every day. Dar, estar, haber, ir, saber, y ser. Please make flashcards. Excelente. Spelling changes. I'd like to go over that with you. For verbs that end in ZAR, zar, the Z changes to C when it comes before the letter E. Empiezo. Muy bien. Drop the O. Empiece. Excelente. For verbs that end in GER or GIR, the G changes to a J when it comes before the letter A. Escoger. What happens? Escoja. Escojas. Con J, you're going to need to use the letter J. To maintain, this is all to maintain the sound of the original verb, because you're going to say, why do we have to do these spelling changes? Let's look at seguir. All right, the GU changes to G when it comes before the letter A. Seguir, sigo. All right, you're maintaining the sound, the original sound of the verb. Buscar. All right, buscar becomes busque, busques. Right? Because what would happen if you left the C in there? It would become buse, buses. It would sound funny. The spelling changes maintain the original sound of the verb. Huir changes to Y. Huye, huyes. Okay, muy bien. All right, let's look at our next page. El subjunctivo, desires, wishes, and emotions. Let's do a practice. I desire that you go to the party, or I want you to go to the party. I want you to go, but I don't know if you're going to go. It's got to be subjunctive to say, okay, vayas a la fiesta. We've got that irregular vayas in there. Quiero que come la cena. I want them to eat the dinner. I want them to eat it. Don't know if they will or not. Quiero que coman la cena. You have to use subjunctive. Ojalá que ganar el partido. I hope that we win the game. But will we win it? I don't know. It's probably happening in the future. We don't know the outcome. It has to be subjunctive. Ojalá que ganemos el partido. Temo que venir tarde. And we're using ella. I'm afraid that she will come late. She hasn't come yet, so we don't know if she's late, but I'm afraid she will. We have to use the subjunctive. It's an unknown event. Temo que venga tarde. We'll do more practice with this in class. We never use the subjunctive when we are certain. If you know something for a fact, do not make it subjunctive. These should trigger you to use the indicative. Creo que, I believe that. Pienso que, I think that. Estoy seguro que, I am sure that. No dudo que, I do not doubt that. There are. These are concrete things. They're facts. Indicative, not a subjunctive. The subjunctive with commands. Believe it or not, the command form is also subjunctive, except two in the vosotros forms. Just because we command someone to do something doesn't mean they will do it. Dígame la verdad. Tell me the truth. Will you tell me the truth? I don't know. Bailemos. Let's dance. Will we? I don't know. I'm commanding you to, but I do not know if these things will occur. Hábleme. Speak to me. Will you speak to me? I don't know. Keep in mind, commands are merely a suggestion. You cannot force someone to do something. That's a good way to look at it. Excelente. Ya vamos. Subjective reactions always take the subjunctive. And by a subjective reaction, what we're saying is your response or reaction to something is how you feel about it. That is subjunctive. It's not a fact. It's how you feel about it, but it might not be the way everyone feels about it. Es bueno que comamos los guisantes. It's good that we eat the peas. You may hate peas, so it's got to be subjunctive. Es importante que estudien mucho. It's important that they study a lot. But you may not think it's important to study at all. These are subjective, personal feelings and reactions. Es imposible que escales la montaña. It is impossible that you can climb that mountain. Muy bien. All right. Keep in mind, our subjective reactions will take the subjunctive. You may feel that way, but others might not. Let's look at anticipated events with adverbial clauses. If the event is dependent on something, it must take the subjunctive, or if it occurs in the future. Okay, think about that for a minute. Anticipated events, that means it's gonna happen. It hasn't happened yet. Let's look. Voy a ir al mercado cuando llegue mi madre. I'm going to go to the market when my mother arrives. Okay? She hasn't arrived yet, but when she does, I'm going. Cuando termines la tarea, iremos al cine. When you finish the homework, we will go to the movies. You haven't finished it yet, but when you do, we will go. Do you see how we have two different sides to this sentence? Okay? If you have to rely on someone or something to get it done, it has to be subjunctive. It makes it unknown. The non-existent. This is another really hard one sometimes for English speakers to understand. If the noun is negated, denied, non-existent, or undefined, it has to take the subjunctive. Let's look at it for a minute. Buscamos una criada que hable español. We are looking for a maid that speaks Spanish. She may or may not exist. Subjunctive. Muy bien. No necesito ningún amigo que me insulte así. I do not need any friend that insults me like this. You're negating, you're using ningún amigo. It has to take the subjunctive. No hay ningún hombre que valga la pena. There is no man that's worth it. You're using no hay ningún hombre. You're denying his existence. It has to take the subjunctive. All right, let's see. Important reminders about the subjunctive. We're going to use it in these circumstances. If it is unclear or unsure, the action or the thing that we're doing. If it is in the future, it hasn't happened yet. We don't know what its outcome will be. If it relies on someone else to occur. Okay, meaning if we want to do it or get it done, but we're waiting for someone else for that to happen, that's subjunctive. If it doesn't exist, it's subjunctive. If you are expressing emotion, if you are expressing your feelings about something, or your opinion, your subjective opinion about a topic. Muy bien. Let's look at adjective clauses very quickly. Hay algo aquí que me gusta. There is something here which I like. Now this is the indicative. I added this in here for you guys to look at. When a sentence says I, this was one of our words that we needed to, a clue word, to use the indicative. I. There is something here that I like. It's a fact. We must use the indicative. And look at the next one. No hay. That's denied. Something doesn't exist. It's not here. No hay nada aquí que me guste. There's nothing here that I like. It has to take the subjunctive. Okay, keep that in mind. Let's look at the last example down here. Quiero leer un libro que explique todo eso. I want to read a book which explains all of that. Does that book exist? I want to read a book. Does it exist? We don't know if the book exists or not. It has to take the subjunctive. Ok, clase, muy bien. Gracias por escucharme y nos vemos en la clase. Adiós y chao.